Okay, this cabinet's been in a bath layer of this stripping agent overnight, and looks like it's working well. I'll find out momentarily, but as some of the paint has come off down here on the bottom, you can see there's quite a bit more rust underneath the paint layer than could originally be seen. So we'll probably get a bath of some de-rusting, but you can look at that stripper and you can see a lot of gold in it. It was orange to start. So next step now is to take it out and wash it off with water, and we'll see how well that stripper worked. Real easy to use, just simply brush it on and let it set. So we'll see how it worked. Check this out. I had the little clips off the back that connect to the inputs to the antenna leads. I removed those from the cabinet and put them overnight in a batch of evapor rust. They were rusted. I don't know if this is going to come out on the camera, but look at all that gunk. You know, I know you can use, I think it's vinegar and some other things as a rust remover, but boy, I tell you what, evapor rust is some good stuff. Those things look brand new. So, and the neat thing about it is you can reuse evapor rust. All you really got to do is go get you one of those coffee filters, permanent coffee filters in a funnel, and you know, you can pour it right back in the bottle and use it again. You can use it many times before, you know, I guess you can eventually have to throw it away. But you know, environmentally friendly evapor rust, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff to remove rust. Okay, here's the cabinet after an overnight bath and the citrus stripping gel. And you know, my review of the product is it did okay. I think if I would have taken some steel wool when it was in the bath, a lot more paint would have been stripped than it actually did just soaking on its own. But that's okay, because actually what I just really wanted it to do was be powerful enough to remove all the grime, which it did. And what's kind of interesting around here, this is where the channel clunker goes, and this area here was covered with some grime. Now some of the paint's it's stripped all the way off, and it is here as well. And what is left behind is some rust that I couldn't even see before. And there's a few other places around the cabinet that I found additional rust areas that I didn't know were there, as well as got all the grime off. And this is the worst area of rusting, down here in the bottom. Some other areas came up that I didn't know were rusted. So it will get a bath back in the bucket with evapor rust. One thing I could verify is, I don't know if it's going to come out on the camera, but I had said that this set had been repainted, and actually you can see right here that in fact did happen. This is kind of a lighter gold, and someone had painted it a darker gold. So someone had painted this set. Why they did that originally, I don't know. Maybe they did it to cover up some rust. I don't know, but I'd like to remove as much of the rust as possible before I paint it. and then, you know, wire brush it down and get it smoothed out, sand it down, and get it back down to metal. Because if you paint over rust, you can't see it, and you know, it may look nice, but that doesn't mean that the rust is still there. So yeah, this is going to get a good soaking few days for sure, especially over here in this corner in the bottom, this left corner of the bottom. Get rid of all that. Make sure I get it down to as clean as metal as possible before I come back with the paint that I want to use. Okay? So just thought I'd show you that. I think this, I know this stripping gel works really well on wood, but also too, thinking some steel wool while it's activating, while it's actually on there, is definitely the trick. Okay, I'll let each end of this cabinet, each side of this cabinet, bake in this evaporust for a couple days, and just be patient with it, and let it do its thing. But after we do that, we should have a pretty well good and cleaned up cabinet to paint. So yeah, when this is done, I'll let you get a little look. Here's the product, Evaporust. If you've never used it before, it's really good stuff, and it's biodegradable and non-toxic. So really great product. Get it at the auto parts store. Maybe even Walmart has it, and the home building stores, things of that nature, they probably have it as well. Okay, I'm working on the back to prep for painting. Have masked off the tube chart. Definitely want to save that, as well as the manufacturer date. I've got mask off. We'll leave that alone. I want to leave that there in case someone in the future runs into this set. They'll know when it was manufactured and help them like it did me to find the appropriate service information. I've been going through with some lacquer thinner and Q-tips and going through and getting all the grunge out of the vent holes. And some other surface areas there where I just couldn't get the grime off with mean green and water and scrubbing. That took it off. It's a nice thing about painting, you don't worry about it taking the paint off. And there was also it's kind of like an epoxy or some type of glue. I'm working on trying to get as much of that possible off. What that was there for was this this vent screen that was in here like so, which is obviously very old and dirty, and the way they attached it was with some glue. This was put here just so if any children or whatever decided to stick something through one of these fairly large vents on the back, it would not fall into the chassis. But yet it still allows air to circulate for cooling, which the set needs. We'll replace this. It's just like your normal window screen, which I have some of, and so I'll save this and use this as a layout to cut it out, and we'll glue it back in at the appropriate time. So yeah, the back's about ready to be started on the front bezel, I've masked off the inside part, which will be a different color obviously than the outside part here. I'll still, before I attempt to paint that, I will mask off the rest of it with some paper. But yeah, this bezel will be two-toned, and hopefully it'll look really good using this frog tape. And after this is painted and dried, obviously I'll have to mask that off before I paint the rest of it. Okay? So this back and the back side of the bezel will be white, and this inside part will be a gray color. Okay? So hopefully I can pull that off and that'll look really nice when I'm done. Okay, here's a quick update while waiting on some more electronic parts to complete the electronic restoration on the chassis. Thought I'd give you an update of where I'm at on the cabinet restoration. Normally I would not do cabinet restoration work until after I know that I have the electronic part of the set running and running where it's deemed acceptable, but I knew there was going to be a delay, so decided to start going ahead and working on the plans I had for the cabinet. And just give you a quick update here. The good part about doing this cabinet restoration work, you know, after you get the set running, I'm usually in a hurry and excited to get the cabinet done. And in this situation, I've got some time, so I've been taking my time. So I think it's turned out pretty well. So I thought I'd show you the update from the last segment that I showed where I was doing de-rusting. I've got the cabinet kind of put together here, and I've got the faceplate painted white, and then this interior piece here is painted a metallic silver. I think it turned out pretty nice. And I've got the interior cabinet, or the main metal cabinet, all completed. I did put on another layer of stripping agent, as well as showed you that we did some de-rusting. And then I went through the whole cabinet with a wire wheel on a drill and removed all the excess paint that didn't come off from the stripper. And now taking a real close look at the bottom, if you recall, there was a little bit of rust in there, and really difficult to tell where that was at. Can you guys guess where the rust was? Yeah. It was actually this area right over here was rusted out pretty bad, so you can see that got the rust off and completed. The back is done and it's completely white, save the tube chart as well as the manufacture date. And here's the outside of the cabinet. So I've got it down to the metal on really both sides, inside and out. And so what will happen now is I will apply a layer of light layer of primer, and then you're probably wondering what color I'm going to come back with on that. Well, it's going to be a leather brown, so should end up looking really nice, hopefully. So once I get that painted really will take my time on that and try to make that look sharp. So what's left? Well, a couple things on this back here. There is a piece of screening that I need to cut out and put back in here, as well as the antenna hookup terminals. I took those out. Those were quite grungy and quite, well, they had that green, what is it, cadmium oxide, I can't remember, my brain's not working right now, that all over them, as well as some rust. And also it appeared that whoever had painted this set before just painted right over those, so I wanted to clean those up. Those are electrical contacts, and they need to be, in my opinion, as clean as possible. So I thought, you know, I could try to put them on the bench grinder wire wheel. I tried that. That was very difficult. They're very small and hard to hold. Same thing with the power drill. Another option would have been to put them in the ultrasonic cleaner. But what I went with was, I've got this pail of carburetor parts cleaner. I do work on small engines, and occasionally I use this parts cleaner type fluid that you can buy at any auto parts store. It works really, really well. And just let it set in here for a couple days, and it usually cleans any metal parts up really, really nice. You can also put this fluid in, into an ultrasonic cleaner and use that as your cleaning agent. But I usually just put this these parts directly into this bath, and you can see it took all the rust and all the grime. It got everything off there. So yeah, works good. So all these all these antenna terminals will be nice and clean and shiny. I'll go ahead and reinstall those. Get those reinstalled in here. Get the screen back on. Really, the last two things that I'll have to do as far as cabinet prep after that will be obviously to get that frame painted. And then probably the most difficult thing that I have to accomplish is what to do with the safety glass. Now, I did go over it with some Novus number 2, just mainly to clean it. And it does look a lot better than it did, but there are still quite a few scratches, and I know that light's reflecting off of it, but there's some fairly decent gouges in this safety glass, as well as just overall scratches. And I'm toying with a couple things. 3M, the 3M company, does make a car lens restoring kit where both wet sanding and a compound is used to help clear the yellowing of the plastic and smooth it out. I'm toying with the idea of using something like that. The only problem that I've read online about and seen and heard discussion with other restorers is that sanding down the material on this plastic, while you may eliminate scratches, you might create an optical illusion. In other words, different levels of thickness throughout this that could cause some distortion on looking at the picture when the set's done. So I don't know. I think the only way I can get this to look decent and really do a total restore is to do some sort of wet sanding and compounds together, using probably the drill as a buffing tool to get this to look nice. But anyway, that's a little bit down the road. I've got to get the cabinet painted and do a couple of other things, and then hopefully by the time I get this done, I'll be able to go back and finish the electronic part. So that's where I'm at. When I get all that done, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. I think it's going to end up looking really nice. Okay, a quick snippet here of the cabinet with a nice primer coat throughout the whole part of the metal cabinet. Alright, nice primer. So now on to the color. See how it turns out. Okay, so here's the cabinet all done being painted, and you can get a little look at what it's going to look like. Came out pretty good. Just a preview of, I think this set's going to look pretty good when we get the chassis done and get everything reinstalled and get it up and running. It's definitely not a golden Sportster anymore. Anything but that. Looks quite different. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. When I come back, we'll be finishing up on the chassis restore, and we'll do a power up hopefully and get great results. Put the set back together, get it dialed in, and be done with it. So hopefully just one more video on this series, but wanted to give you a quick look. Usually you don't get to see this until after the electronics are done, but I'm kind of doing this one backwards. But that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look pretty good, I think, by the time we get the set put back together. Still got to deal with the safety plastic. Hopefully that will come out really nice as well. Alright, till next time, see you guys later.